my daughter's 18 now, and this hit her, and it did hit her when she was about 11. So the transition year was when the school refusal literally came out of the blue. So up until that point, she'd been happy, healthy, popular, loved school. I was the classic school mum in everything. You know, we did so many activities. And then we were living overseas, actually, when she was moving from primary to what would be secondary. And it was, just literally one day woke up and couldn't move. The physical sort of aspect of it was what I find the most kind of amazing. It wasn't just, mentally that she didn't have the resilience to go. She couldn't physically do it. And so we started what was nearly a year of trying to get her into school. Hugely distressing, hugely distressing for her, very distressing for the family. And the school were pretty, just get on with it, don't be flaky parents, just tell her what to do. They were pretty sort of, it was a good school, private school, we were paying a lot of money for it. And they had a sort of a pretty just get on with it sort of attitude to her. And so hugely distressing, just trying to every day get her up, get her out. Some days we succeeded, some days we didn't. Some days we just went along and sat in reception in the school. Some days we literally threw her into the class and ran away. It was a very, very difficult time. And at the end of a year, I certainly had had enough. I think my husband had had enough. She definitely had had enough. And it was at that stage we thought we have to do something else here for her mental health and for the family, really, because it was such a destructive and really misunderstood at that time. Maybe it's got better, I don't know, thing. Yeah, I mean, it was huge. And I mean, luck. I think something that was very lucky is that my husband and I both got on the same page about homeschooling, and that certainly I know a lot of couples, they don't agree, and I think that can be a very destructive force in a marriage or whatever. If one thinks they should carry on and the other doesn't. So luckily we both put her first in a way and thought, look, regardless of what happens to her, it's her mental health here that's important, and so I think that was a good thing. It brought us kind of together. Yeah, I mean, I think at that time it was. I mean, we had Kath, who was our initial sort of student manager, and it's just the comfort of having a structure because we did want her to get O levels and some sort of qualifications, but we didn't have a clue about curriculums or what the heck you're supposed to do with any of it, So having that structure was very, very helpful, and just having the sort of all the resources there was great because it helped us sort of get her a plan. And now the problem for us though was the structure. She's such, if you put any pressure on her at all, she kind of falls apart, So some of the timelines, a lot of the timelines we missed, we sort of trundled on in our own way, the putting the essays in, we did that. But we failed a lot, I think, in the timelines and sort of getting things in on time, Karen, if I'm honest. And we were always conscious that she can step out of this at any time and go back to where we were. So we had to try and kind of nurture her along it. But that meant, I think, for a lot of the sort of, the lovely timetables that you keep sending us, that we don't follow that, and I think that's okay. She still got all her exams, so it's all right, I think, for these anxiety-driven kids, Like, I mean, she's got a great life now and a boyfriend, and like we're having to kind of, and also she hasn't got she's kind of missed those milestones, you know. So she you know, her friends are going to university, she's not. But you know, I think some of those things are a bit sort of tricky still for her, you know, because she's a little bit behind, whatever behind means. But but in terms of the family, yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely fine now, you know. We're just so happy that, you know, she got six very good A levels, or sorry, six very good O levels. She's trying to do three A levels. You know, she's got a plan. She wants to go to university. You know, she has a career pathway. Um, and, you know, she's a pretty well-adjusted person, really, you know. I think I mean, the bottom line for us was that, you know, my concern was her mental health, and my instinct was, if we keep on pushing her like this, she's going to collapse completely, and she's going to end up with a really big sort of mental health problem, and or hurting herself. You know, that really was where I got. And at one stage I thought, I don't care if she hasn't got an education, as long as she's alive, you know. So like, for parents, I think, trust your instinct, and you know, it's a battle, and we battled with the school to be understood and all of that. But at the end of the day, like you say, you can catch up, or you can get on with your life in other ways, you know. It's not the end of the world, and her well-being was what was important, you know.
Welcome everyone to this Wolsey Hall Oxford homeschooling webinar for families with anxious children. We have families joining us from all around the world today, and a very big welcome to you all. I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Amber Hussain, Senior Admissions Officer here at Wolsey Hall Oxford. I am absolutely delighted to be here with you all today. I'm joined here today by a number of colleagues, both from our admissions and academics teams, who will be answering your questions today. Just to let you know, we are recording this webinar, and we will send out a link of the recording to all of you via email in a few days. So you will be able to rewatch this event and also share it with any family and friends as needed. Before we begin our question and answer session today, we have a presentation from our Learning Support Coordinator, Steph Williams, and our Manager of Student Support, Charlotte Casey. You may find that some of the questions you have answered will be in their presentation itself, so please do not type any questions into the Q&A until the presentation is complete, as we won't be able to answer any questions that are posted before the Q&A session. Thank you. Please enjoy the presentation from Steph and from Charlotte, and then I will let you know when we will begin the Q&A session. Over to you, Steph and Charlotte.
Thank you, Amber. Welcome, everybody. It's so lovely to have you here today. And we're going to just talk through really some decisions that you might be going through at the moment around moving from mainstream schooling into homeschooling, and what that might look like. So some of the things that we'll just walk through in the presentation is we'll be looking at not necessarily what is anxiety, but the way in which anxiety can impact students, and what that kind of picture looks like, and the effect that it might be having on learning. We're also going to have a little look at how homeschooling and online learning can maybe support students that are managing the impact of anxiety. We'll take a look at the way in which Wolsey Hall offers support to students, and then we'll also take a little look at the kind of wider journey and experience that Wolsey Hall students have, and the provision that we offer. So if we just have a quick think to start off with, just kind of anchoring ourselves in the understanding of anxiety and really what it looks like. So we know very much that anxiety is a spectrum, and the way that is different is it's very unique to individuals. We know that no two people are going to experience anxiety in exactly the same way. We also know very much that there are fluctuations in how we're feeling around that anxiety. So from day to day, the picture is always going to be moving, and some days we've got that intensity, and some days it's going to feel maybe a little bit more manageable. And if we think about that idea of the sort of fluctuations and the intensity, we absolutely know that for some students, they maybe will, or for some children, they will feel that mild sense of anxiety that could be transient, and certainly conversations and some kind of interventions, sort of small interventions, will be beneficial and will have an effect. We also know that this could be felt in a more sort of moderate way, where the learner starts to feel that there is an impact on functioning. So yes, some things they'll still be able to do, and then there's going to be things that become increasingly more difficult. And then as we get up that scale, we're moving into sort of feelings of severe anxiety, where there are going to be serious limitations to how the child is able to function in the world, particularly in a school environment and in a social environment. And like I said, based on the information that we just spoke about in the previous slide, it's that idea that this is always going to look different on a daily basis. So it could be that we're having that kind of mild experience through to a sort of much more extreme version. And what we're kind of looking at is how do we make sure that children can still thrive, and obviously we're looking at this with a kind of academic lens. How can we make sure that the child is still able to progress through learning in some way? And I think it was lovely in the video that Fiona has shared with us that absolutely, you know, focus on well-being is important. But I guess what's at the heart of this is knowing that anxiety shouldn't bring about a lack of access into education. It's really important that we know that even in those moments where the situation might be quite intense, that we've got access to the relevant resource and support that our child needs to be able to still move through in some way with their education. So we're thinking about how do we remove the barriers that are existing. So it could be, you know, if we think about anxiety maybe manifesting sort of socially, it's how do we make sure that we don't create that space that is triggering because of the social situation that's involved. What, you know, maybe there's other things about particularly, you know, around pressures with academic success. How do we start to remove those barriers and reduce the sort of intensity in the pressure pot around anxiety? We know that flexible care and support is really beneficial, and we also know that regular opportunities for children to be able to express the needs that they have is really crucial in helping them manage anxiety and move forward. And again, based on some things that Fiona said in the video, the child feeling that they've got a voice, feeling that they're listened to, feeling that they're heard, and also that for parents is important. And again, we're coming back to how do we manage these barriers that might be existing. And where relevant, we know it's important to have that wider network of support through other professionals. So what we're thinking about here is making sure that that fundamental right that every child has to education is not lost due to the experience of anxiety. We're thinking about how can we make sure that we provide a space that children can navigate anxiety, but it doesn't have a negative impact on their educational journey. So when we think about homeschooling, there's some ways in which homeschooling just naturally reduces that pressure pot that I've talked about, and really does take away some of those trigger points that could be exasperating moments and intensities of anxiety. So I'll just walk us through the points on this slide so we get a picture of how homeschooling could be a good way to support children that are experiencing anxiety. So first of all, we got this idea of the flexible scheduling. So really it's placing that kind of autonomy into how learning can take place and working towards something that is going to fit for how the individual is feeling. So working at own pace is really important here, and not having that rigid timetable, that sense of, you know, we've got to do this at this point, it's got to be this subject at this time. There's now that real fluidity and choice pattern that learners can take. That goes hand in hand with the idea of a personalised learning environment. So we're setting up a space that's, you know, free from distraction, and it has the things that are going to help the child be able to focus and concentrate on the learning content. So we're removing any of those wider distractions, particularly if some of the trigger points around anxiety come from being in spaces with others and also lots of other people. Then already homeschooling allows us to reduce those feelings of being overwhelmed by the social setting. There's a reduced social pressure as well. So some of the expectations that come with being in a school environment are also removed. So again, it might be that thought of, you know, I've got to do X, Y, and Z at school today. That therefore becomes, you know, irrelevant in the picture, that those demands and expectations are now removed. And again, coming back to education, it creates a clearer path. Within the resources, the learning resources, there is lots of variety. So we're making sure that students really have that sense of learning in a way that's going to be suitable or preferred to them. And there might be those days, we all know it, where actually listening to things is going to be more conducive to reading lots of information, or vice versa. And again, that diet and that menu of different resources is going to allow that to happen. And then the other thing that's really beneficial with the homeschooling environment is that there are tutors there, specialist teachers and qualified tutors that can give that continuous support and feedback, which really does help students. Obviously, generally it helps students, but particularly where students are experiencing anxiety and sort of confidence levels have gone a little bit lower, that continuous support and somebody to reach out to can be really important in building up that sense of self-efficacy and ability in our own learning. So in terms of what we do at Wolsey Hall, the way in which we're supporting our learners is we like to take a tiered approach to this support system. So at tier 1, we're really saying this is support for all learners, for, you know, it's kind of universal approach. And really that ties into all of the things that I've just said, the idea that there's flexibility and autonomy, that there's lots of high quality learning resources that are in multiple different formats that will really play to individual preferences. There's access to that support and feedback on an ongoing basis, and really knowing that there are people there that the student can connect to. We also have targeted support. So we have a support for learning course, which is available to everyone. And we'll also have moments where we can direct students to those resources. So for example, if in the midst of the anxiety, a student might be feeling that they're struggling with focus and concentration, we know that we can reach out to the student and say, have a little look at some of these resources on the Support for Learning course, which are going to be helpful and useful. You know, those little tidbits, top tips and ideas that might just be enough to help move that progress forward. And then at our tier 3, we have a team of learning support specialists where families can take up one-to-one support sessions that will really help create that kind of bespoke and tailored approach in supporting the student. So that's the way in which we offer our support services to students, going through those three layers, those 3 tiers that will help ensure that every learner is fully supported, that their individual needs are catered for, and in giving them the opportunity to thrive within education. So as I mentioned, this is our learning support team, and there's a huge wealth of experience within that team, all qualified in lots of different areas and ways of supporting students. You can see in there that there is anxiety, but there's a wide range of support offered. So that's our team, and I think what we find with these one-to-one support services that we offer is that it's really a space that the learner can feel very much a sense of belonging and connection, and also that the support that is provided within those sessions is tailored to those unique and individual needs of the student. And we know that it's really beneficial, like I said before, in helping to build that confidence back up, particularly where there might have been a series of possibly negative learning events that have happened in the past. We now can start to bring in a much more positive experience around learning, and help the student feel that those kind of barriers that were previously experienced have now been kind of moved away. The other thing to think about is, and this is something that I think a lot of families are considering when moving over to homeschooling, is how do we build that sense of social community, of connection? And within Wolsey Hall, there's lots of ways in which students can connect through the forums and different groups that are available that they can join. And all of those things really are controlled by families of how the student might want to interact in those spaces. But I think the most important thing is that those community groups are there. There are plenty of ways in which students can find that connection and also start to build relationships with others. So still very much those moments for social support and connection. And then really the last thing that I just want to mention around well-being is just how important it is within that homeschooling environment to offer a space where well-being very much is the top priority, allowing students to feel really happy in that homeschooling space. So there's a few bits of feedback here that you'll see that have come from our families, just talking through their experience of how homeschooling has been really helpful to their child. And what we know from the surveys that we've carried out is that families do feel sort of overwhelmingly positive about how their child's well-being has improved in that transition over to homeschooling. And we know that there's this offering of a very safe and supported place where students can feel that sense of connection, and most importantly, that moment of feeling that they belong somewhere and that they're feeling connected, they're feeling heard, they're feeling supported. And we know if we link back to some of those things that I mentioned at the beginning, that's all of the ways in which we can remove barriers and really help offer a space in which students are going to be able to thrive and focus very much on feeling better, but also continuing their academic journey. I'd like to pass you over now to my lovely colleague Charlotte, who's just going to take you through a little bit more about Wolsey Hall and how it works. Over to you, Charlotte.
Thank you so much, Steph, and welcome again from me. We're really happy to have you with us today and to get to share this information with you. My name's Charlotte Casey. I'm a manager of student support here at Wolsey Hall. Steph's talked about anxiety and the support that Wolsey Hall can offer in that situation, and I'd like to put that into the context of Wolsey Hall as a company and talk a bit more about our courses and our care of students and families along the way. So let's look at the Wolsey Hall journey together. Wolsey Hall was established in 1894. Sometimes when I say that, people think that I have mistyped or misspoken, but no, really 1894. As a company, we've been working worldwide for 125 years to support families just like yours with educational solutions. We bring a wealth of experience and mature understanding in our approach, as well as provide high quality education that meets, or in many cases exceeds, traditional school standards. We're approved and certified by Cambridge and highly regarded by exam boards. The Wolsey Hall journey is designed to be a complete educational experience. Each year group represents one academic year of study, and we have a wide selection of courses in each year group to choose from. Our courses start at lower primary when a child may be 3.5 or 4 years old and covers the national UK and Cambridge curriculum year by year, all the way up to exam levels of IGCSE and A-level. Proud that we have students with us who've been studying for more than a decade and who continue to thrive and love their journey at Wolsey Hall. However, students can start with us at any point in their educational journey, and our admissions team, who are really very friendly, will be very happy to advise you on how that works. From lower primary through upper primary and to the end of lower secondary, the courses are all 1 year of academic study. You can see on the screen our recommended number of courses, and that would really be suggested as a minimum rather than a maximum there. So for lower primary, that's 3+ courses, and for upper primary and lower secondary, 5+ courses, and so on. We suggest that your chosen subjects in the stages of lower primary, upper primary, and lower secondary include the core subjects of English, Maths, and Science, and these can then be supplemented with a wide variety of additional courses, all of which you can find detailed on our website. At exam levels of IGCSE and A-level, the courses represent 2 years of academic study, which then lead to external examinations in those subjects. Normally, a student would start IGCSE courses around the age of 14, with exams perhaps at 16. A-levels normally start for students around the age of 16, with exams at around the age of 18. But we do also have mature students that study with us as well. The thing I'd like to emphasize here is that at Wolsey Hall, we really create bespoke solutions. So it's very easy in a presentation like this to just give an overview, but I don't want to minimize the very individual way that we approach families and individual students. And you can use our courses to create an individual model based on what is best for you. So some examples might be that some students might be in the expected year group for some subjects, but are advanced in others and may be able to do maths or a language at a higher level. Some students may have some gaps to fill and can take a subject at a lower level in order to do this, but it doesn't need to hold back their whole learning experience. Other children choose to accelerate in a subject that they might really want to focus on and may continue to fast track to achieve their personal goals. Let's move on to look at how our courses work. Our courses sit on a learning platform which is called Canvas. Our courses are interactive, they're online. You access your courses securely from your computer at home or anywhere else that you choose to be. Education at Wolsey Hall has been designed to be flexible. We recognise how important this is, particularly for students with anxiety. You are able to choose which subjects to study. You choose the levels together with your admissions advisor, who will help you make an informed decision. You choose your study pattern and pace. You choose your breaks, and you set up your home environment to support learning in a way that makes you feel comfortable. This is so important as part of homeschooling to support any student that really needs that reassurance. There's a wide variety of resources on all of the courses to help you learn. So you have options to revisit topics that you may feel unsure about or worried about, often in different ways. With the ability to create a safe, supportive learning atmosphere, parents can help their students, their children at home, thrive without the additional stress that might come with a traditional classroom or unwelcome peer pressure. In order that you have this level of flexibility, we don't have fixed online lessons. Instead, we've designed our courses to be parent-led at primary level and student-led at secondary level, so that you are in charge of your learning. This means, rather than online lessons, we provide lesson materials in the form of teaching videos, interactive subscription tools, quizzes, tasks, activities, as well as physical textbooks to use. When you're enrolled on a course, if it's a lower primary, upper primary, or lower secondary course, you'll have access to that course for 12 months. And the course itself should take around 9 months to complete. Like physical schools, we work in time for breaks and holidays so that there's room to adjust your schedule. For exam years, you have access for 2 years or until you're chosen exam sitting. And we'll talk a little bit more about exam sitter in a little while. So let's move on to the student journey. So we can just look at what the pathway looks like throughout a course with us. We recognise that it's important that you get all the information you need up front to make a good decision. And today we will encourage you to submit an inquiry form to enable you to really maximise on that opportunity up front. This can be done through the website, and you can find the link in the Contact Us section, and it doesn't take long. You can even do it while I'm talking if you want. This allows one of our admissions advisors to contact you with information specific to the level that you're interested in. They'll suggest you book a call to discuss your individual student needs, and there's no obligation at this point to sign up for courses at this stage. The admissions advisor may recommend you take level placement checks or use them as tools to check the courses, the level of the courses that you want to enroll on, to check that they're the right level for you. And you'll then be able to submit an application form for the courses that you've chosen with confidence. Once you've enrolled with us, you may take a week or so to look around the courses, check your textbooks, and decide on some clubs and activities as well in our community area. We encourage you to set up a schedule that works for you so that you have a successful learning routine and know what to expect each day. That will look different for different people, and that's fine. Throughout the course, we will ask you to submit assignments, and this enables you to get positive feedback and guidance on next steps. And it's a really important part of our courses. I just want to doubly emphasize there how positive the feedback is from our tutors to students, and it's a really something that is known for being an enhancing experience at Wolsey Hall. So really encourage you not to worry about that at all. Once your courses are complete, you might want to re-enroll on the next level, or if you're studying exam courses, you can choose to take mock exams with us to practice your technique prior to sitting your exams, and or book some sessions with our career advisor. Looking at support for families now. So we have a dual approach to student support at Wolsey Hall. Your main point of contact at Wolsey Hall would be your student progress manager. That's the team that I manage is a team of student progress managers. So we take it very seriously, and we call them SPMs, and they're very friendly, and they support and advise your family through your time with us, and they're likely to be the first person that you meet once you've got access to your courses. Your student progress manager will be in touch with you at regular intervals. And if there's any queries that you may have, we would encourage you at any point to reach out to them so that they can help you. Alongside this support, we also have UK qualified tutors for each of your chosen subjects, and they are there to provide particularly academic support alongside the very particular subjects that you are studying. They meet with you at the beginning of the course and at appropriate junctures throughout the course. They mark your assignments and provide positive feedback, please do talk with admissions about what that looks like, dependent on the level of the courses that you're wanting to take, if you want any more information on that. They're available, tutors are available to contact through the Canvas course inbox at any point to answer academic questions online and provide guidance if you need it. So now just a little bit about external examinations for our exam courses at the top of the score. Just to reassure you that for our exam courses, we prepare you with all the academic materials you need to succeed. We give lots of opportunities to practice exam style questions and to receive feedback from our tutors on what you're doing right, as well as strategies for improving. There are some actions you'll need to do yourself, such as book an examination centre for the final external exams, and our exam officers are able to help you find your nearest examination centre and are available to answer questions along the way. We have guides on all of our exam courses and what is required at each stage, so you're fully informed, and these are there right from the beginning, so you can start your research right from the beginning of the course and not have any surprises at the end, hopefully. Please take the opportunity to discuss this process more with one of our admissions advisors, because I'm really aware that I'm just doing a very quick overview today, and there's a lot more to discuss about particular stages, as I'm sure you're aware. So just having a quick look at the additional support we provide at Wolsey Hall. There are additional services that we offer as add-ons. As Steph mentioned, we have a wealth of learning support and wellbeing services ready and available, as all our families have learning support, guidance and resources through our Canvas learning platform. And our student progress manager can guide you if needed. But if you feel that you would benefit from one-to-one sessions, then we can also arrange this with one of our fully trained specialists, as Steph outlined earlier. Likewise, we have a bespoke service where you can book sessions with our international university advisor. And again, this information is available through the website. So I hope that's given you a little taste of who we are and what we're like at Wolsey Hall. Thank you so much for listening to me today. And I hope we will be seeing you at Wolsey Hall very soon. I'm now going to pass back to Amber for the question and answer time.
Thank you, Charlotte, and thank you, Steph, as well. We hope you found that helpful and that it's provided a good overview of Wolsey Hall and how it works and how we support families with anxious children during their studies. The Q&A has now begun, so you can now start to type your questions by popping them into the Q&A area, which you can find at the bottom of your screens. When typing a question, please include the age of your child and their level of study and your country, and we will try and answer as many questions as possible in the time available. Do note that we can't answer very specific or unique questions for your child today. So for these types of very specific questions, please do submit an inquiry form on our website, and our admissions team, which includes me, will be very happy to help you go through your very in-depth questions. So we will show you where you can find the inquiry form at the end of the webinar today, sorry. So we will start to answer some of your questions in the Q&A channel now, so do start to put them in, and we will also ask some live questions to put to Charlotte and to Steph as well. And I think someone was quite keen and got in with a question quite early on, so I've got one already for you. How is assessment done through the academic year to understand the performance of a child? I'm not sure who wants to take that one.
Happy to answer that, Amber, and thank you for the question today and for giving us the opportunity to answer that. It depends a little bit on the level that the student is at, but essentially the year's programme through lower primary to lower secondary would be divided into sections, and at the end of each section the student has the opportunity to submit an assignment. Now, those assignments might come in different forms. They might be written, they might be audio, that comes, you submit it through the Canvas platform to the tutor allocated for that subject, and that's how they're able to provide feedback on your student and next steps to support them. I hope that helps. I hope that answers that question there.
Yes, that answers it. Great. Thank you, Charlotte. Can homeschooling be a temporary solution?
Yes, absolutely. We've got lots of families that are using it in that way, and quite often it's been really helpful in probably coming back to some of those earlier points, that in the moments, particularly if we put it into the context of anxiety, where students can come away from the school environment, the mainstream school environment, where they're feeling quite overwhelmed and that there's lots of trigger points, have some time at home, focus on well-being, but also still continue to progress through their learning, and that at a point where they feel ready, they're successfully integrating back into mainstream schools. So there are quite a few families that are working very successfully in that way at Wolsey Hall.
Thanks, Steph. Got another question, I think, for you as well. Does the Support for Learning programme have advice about motivation techniques?
Yes, we do. We have some really lovely resources around how to make sure that we're building motivation and also maintaining motivation. I think we definitely see those moments with students in mainstream and in homeschool. Any learning journey is going to have those times where we feel really motivated, and then there's the dips. And the resources help with all of those moments, and we start to think about how can we, build that kind of future picture and vision to help students keep maintaining their motivation over time, which is really helpful, having some of those strategies in place.
That's great. Thanks, Steph. And another question, how are anxious children supported with things like exam practice techniques, exam timings, etc.? This is a student who is in IGCSE.
Yeah, the great thing is we've talked through the bits of the learning support and our Support for Learning course, which has a section within it dedicated to exam stress, exam anxiety. Equally, within our exam courses, there's plenty of opportunities to build up technique around that preparation for the exam. So there's information there for sort of mock papers and exam technique that are set into those modules, and also the assignments that we set for students are very much taken from the actual exam papers. They very much look like that. So all the way through, very conscious of making sure that students are getting those opportunities to practice their exam technique, to build up the confidence around, timed practice. And then they get that lovely feedback from their tutors. They can really see on a regular basis exactly what they need to do to strengthen exam technique, but also where they're going well. Again, it's that moment of confidence building.
That's great. Thanks, Steph. A question about the number of subjects. I've got a parent who is a little bit worried that maybe 5 courses is too much. Obviously, 5 is normally kind of the recommended number. Do we find that young people may struggle with that number of subjects? Is there flexibility on the number of subjects?
Yes, absolutely. There is flexibility. Flexibility is what we specialise in, and it's quite normal for students to perhaps start with a lower number of subjects and get going, and then add further subjects as well. And that ability to add courses after you've started for the same year group is there and available as well. I think just referring back to that initial video where we've got a lovely parent talking about what is best for your child and what their advice would be for other parents is, you're the one at home, and trust yourself in that situation, and we're here to listen to you and work with you about what we can do to support you.
Got a couple of questions that have popped through about sort of socializing and face-to-face meetings, perhaps with other students. How can online homeschooling help with children's social development, and what social interaction is there?
Obviously it is online, and a lot of parents and families that come to us might also have some things happening in a social aspect on the ground at home in their local communities. So that is the first thing. Is one doesn't rule out the other. We have tried to create a balance of having a very academic platform, which is what we are well renowned for, with a community area where students can engage with other students and join various different clubs and activities. So these range from things that you might be on video for, like joining the virtual choir, where you're all working together to produce music together, which is it's just lovely to see some of the things that that get sung and produced. But there are other things that might involve social engagement that aren't necessarily on screen, and there are various different competitions and activities to do in a wide range of forms. For secondary level, there's also a student forum where students can interact with each other, get to know each other a bit better. You're able to moderate that and set your settings in the way that suits you. So for example, you can turn off personal messaging if you want to, you can turn on personal messaging if you want to, and there are a range of options, really, essentially, on the community side of things, depending on what you're looking for, I suppose.
That was really, really in-depth there. Thank you, Charlotte. I think some really exciting stuff. I think that's all we've actually got time for today, and it looks like the majority of our questions have been answered. You can find out more if you do still have any questions about homeschooling with Wolsey Hall Oxford, or if you would like to discuss your child's studies with one of our admissions officers. On the Wolsey Hall website, you can complete an inquiry form by pressing on the Contact Us button, which is at the top right of the website. I don't know if that's on the next screen, Steph, if we've got an example of it or not.
Let me just have a quick, oh yeah, there we go.
Perfect, there it is. Yeah, so at the top right there, you can see the Contact Us button, and then you can click on the Submit Admissions Inquiry Form. Our admissions team will then send you some course information and offer you the chance to book a meeting or a phone call with them so they can give specialist advice about subjects and course levels. You can also meet with the learning support team as well prior to enrolment, if you've got any specific questions that Steph and her team may be able to help you with as well. Admissions might recommend some online level placement checks or checklists to help you decide on the most appropriate level of study for your children in each of their chosen subjects. And I think that's everything. So finally, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you have found this session really useful and it's given you a good understanding of homeschooling with Wolsey Hall. Thank you very much to all of our panelists who have been answering the questions in the Q&A there, and to Charlotte and to Steph for presenting today. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely rest of the day. Bye.